Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered if your body might be quietly sending you a warning about your heart? It's a question many of us don't ask until it's almost too late. I've been there myself, brushing off subtle changes as just part of getting older, thinking that feeling tired or noticing a little swelling was normal. But the truth is, these little signs can sometimes mean much more, especially when it comes to heart health. I remember a friend who ignored what seemed like harmless changes in her nails and skin color, thinking they were just due to age or stress. It wasn't until a sharp-eyed barber noticed something unusual that she finally went to see a doctor. That simple moment changed everything for her. And the good news? You don't have to wait for a crisis to take control. There are simple, gentle ways to catch these signs early and take steps that can make a difference. In this video, I'm going to share 6 body signals that your heart might be struggling with. And one of them in particular is so obvious that anyone around you could notice it. Recognizing these early can give you a powerful advantage to protect your health and live well for years to come. So, as you watch, think about your own body. Have you noticed anything unusual? Remember, you deserve to live a long, healthy life, and sometimes the answers are right in front of you. Let's explore these signs together. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. Now, let's begin. 1. Unusual nail changes. When was the last time you truly paid attention to your nails? Not just for grooming or a quick trim, but to look at them, searching for subtle changes hiding in plain sight. It's easy to think of nails as mere decoration or just something we clip every so often, but for many of us, especially as the years go by, they become quiet storytellers of our health. I know it might sound odd at first. Most of us grew up thinking that nails only reveal how much gardening we've been doing or whether we remembered to wear gloves while washing dishes. But what if those tiny crescents at the tips of your fingers, the gentle curve, the shine, or lack thereof, were your body's way of waving a little red flag? An early, silent alarm that your heart isn't as strong as it once was. Let me tell you about Doris. Doris is 71, a retired nurse from Nebraska, the sort of woman whose laughter fills a room and whose hands always seem busy. Sewing, baking, tending her flower beds. Doris's life is full, though she's slowed down a little since her knees began to ache in the winter. She's the kind of grandmother whose hugs leave you smelling like cinnamon and soap. A few years ago, Doris began to notice something different. Her nails, always strong and neat, started to change. At first, she found it harder to keep them from splitting, and sometimes they'd catch on her knitting yarn. Soon, she saw that the nails on both hands were curving downward, taking on a shape she described as little spoons. There were faint blue lines near the tips, and sometimes her hands felt colder than before, even in a warm kitchen. Like so many of us, Doris shrugged it off. "It's just age," she'd say to her daughter when asked. "Everything changes after 70. She blamed the cold weather, the new brand of soap, her vitamin levels, anything except her heart. If her daughter, Linda, hadn't been a nurse herself, Doris might have gone on ignoring the changes completely. But Linda knew that sometimes, what looks like a minor cosmetic issue is the first sign of something far more serious. One afternoon, while helping Doris prune her roses, Linda noticed the color of her mother's nails. "Mom, does your heart ever feel strange? Do you get tired more easily?" she asked, her tone gentle but concerned. Doris laughed it off, but Linda insisted she see her doctor, just to be safe. When they finally sat in the doctor's office, Doris felt a mix of embarrassment and irritation. She almost canceled the appointment. But Dr. Hay, the cardiologist, listened carefully as Linda described the nail changes. She took Doris's hand, examining the nails closely, and nodded with quiet seriousness. "These are important signs, Doris," she said. "They can tell us about your circulation, and sometimes about your heart's health before anything else does." It turns out, Doris's heart was only working at about 40% of its normal capacity. The changes in her nails, called clubbing, were the body's way of trying to signal that oxygen wasn't getting where it needed to go. Doris was stunned. She hadn't felt chest pain, just the usual aches and fatigue she thought were part of getting older. If she'd waited a few more months, the doctor said, her options for treatment might have been far more limited. Instead, they caught it in time for medication and some gentle lifestyle changes to make a real difference. Doris's story isn't rare. Across the country, thousands of Americans, especially those of us over 65, miss these subtle warnings every year. The nails are a window into our circulation. When the heart struggles to pump efficiently, oxygen-rich blood has a harder time reaching the smallest parts of our bodies. The fingernails, at the very edge of our circulatory system, often show the first hints of trouble. A bluish tinge, brittle or splitting nails, downward curving at the tips, or ridges that weren't there before. I think of my father when I share this. He was a proud man, never one to fuss about his appearance, but even he would notice when his hands felt colder than usual. In those years, it was easy to chalk things up to just getting old. But now, with all we know, I wish someone had told him to check his nails more closely, or that he'd been willing to see his doctor when my mother first noticed the color change. What makes this sign so tricky is that it rarely comes with pain or discomfort. No one rushes to the ER because of a strange curve in their fingernails. And yet, for people like Doris, and maybe for you or someone you love, it can be the earliest, most reliable clue that something deeper is going on. Doctors call this clubbing, and while it's most commonly associated with heart and lung issues, it's especially important for anyone with risk factors for heart failure to pay attention. So, what should you do? Today, right now, take a good look at your nails. Hold your hands up in natural light. Do you see any color changes? Maybe a bluish or purplish hue? Are your nails more brittle, splitting, or showing ridges they never used to have? Is there a downward curve at the tip that wasn't there before? These aren't just cosmetic annoyances. They could be your body's way of asking for help. If you notice any of these changes, don't put it off until your next scheduled appointment. Call your doctor and tell them exactly what you've observed. Mention that you've heard about nail changes as an early sign of heart problems. Take a clear photo of your nails, especially if the change is new or dramatic. Your doctor may want to run simple tests to check your circulation and see how your heart is performing. Remember, there's nothing shameful or vain about being proactive. Noticing small changes and acting on them is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself and your family. I often tell my friends, the heart is the engine of everything we love to do. Spending time with grandkids, walking in the park, even enjoying our favorite hobbies. If we can keep our hearts healthy by paying attention to small signals, why wouldn't we? Doris followed her doctor's advice and began a new chapter. With medication, support, and some gentle exercise, her energy returned. Her hands warmed up, her nails slowly regained their strength, and best of all, she was able to keep baking for her grandkids and tending her roses. She laughs now about how something as small as a fingernail could make such a big difference. But she also knows how close she came to missing the message her body was sending. So the next time you look down at your hands, maybe while holding a mug of tea or patting a grandchild's hair, remember, those little changes can mean a lot. Don't ignore them. Listen, observe, and act. Because sometimes, the secret to protecting your heart is light at your fingertips. 2. Unexplained hair loss or texture changes. There's something deeply personal about our hair. For many of us, it's tied to our identity, our sense of confidence, and our history. We've spent decades combing, curling, styling, and sometimes even complaining about it. Maybe you remember the days when you had to smooth down a stubborn cowlick before heading off to work, or how your friends used to tease you about that one streak of silver that arrived too soon. Hair is a part of how we show ourselves to the world, and, as it turns out, it can also be a subtle messenger about what's happening inside our bodies. As we age, we expect certain changes. A little more gray, a little less thickness. These things often come with time, and most of us take them in stride. But what if your hair suddenly starts thinning at an unusual rate, or its texture changes so quickly that it feels like you're running your hands through someone else's hair entirely? It's easy to chalk these changes up to just getting older, but sometimes they're a quiet alarm bell that shouldn't be ignored. Let me introduce you to Lawrence. Lawrence is 73, a retired accountant from Minnesota who always prided himself on having a full head of hair. Even in his 50s, he joked that he was one of the lucky ones. While his friends compared stories of receding hairlines, Lawrence would pat his own, grateful that the family genes seemed to be in his favor. But about a year ago, something changed. Every time he brushed his hair, more and more strands would gather in the bristles. His wife, Gloria, started finding little clumps in the bathroom sink and on his pillowcase in the morning. At first, Lawrence shrugged it off. "It's just part of getting old," he'd say, trying to sound lighthearted, but deep down, it unsettled him. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. It wasn't just the thinning, though. Lawrence noticed that his hair, once soft and easy to comb, had turned dry and brittle. It felt wiry, even after using his favorite shampoo. He tried changing hair products, using special conditioners, and even avoided wearing hats, thinking maybe he was causing the problem himself. But nothing helped. The change was sudden, and it seemed to get worse every week. One Sunday after church, Gloria mentioned it to their daughter, who happened to be visiting for lunch. She was the one who said, "Dad, maybe you should ask your doctor about it." Sometimes, hair changes can be a sign that something else is going on. Lawrence rolled his eyes, but he promised to bring it up at his next checkup. When that appointment came around, he nearly forgot to mention it. The visit was routine: blood pressure, cholesterol check, and a quick chat about exercise. But just as he was about to leave, Lawrence hesitated and said, "By the way, Doc, my hair's been acting funny lately. It's thinning out and feels dry. Should I be worried?" His doctor, Dr. Snder, paused, asked a few questions, and then examined Lawrence's scalp. He looked Lawrence in the eye and said, "You know, sometimes hair loss or changes in texture can be tied to how well your heart is pumping blood." Lawrence was stunned. He'd expected to be told to try a new shampoo or maybe check his thyroid. However, Dr. Snder explained that hair follicles are extremely sensitive to changes in blood flow. When the heart isn't pumping as strongly as it should, the first areas to suffer are often those farthest from the heart, like the scalp. Hair needs a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients to grow and stay healthy. When that supply is interrupted, the results can be surprising. Hair that falls out more easily, becomes dry, brittle, or changes texture quickly. The doctor ordered some tests, just to be thorough. When the results came back, they showed that Lawrence's heart was functioning at only 35% of its normal capacity. He hadn't had any classic symptoms. No crushing chest pain, no dramatic shortness of breath. Just fatigue and these strange changes in his hair. Dr. Snder explained that by listening to what his body was trying to say, Lawrence had caught a potentially serious problem early, before it led to a crisis. This story, as remarkable as it seems, is not unique. Across the country, many older adults experience unexplained hair loss or changes in texture and never imagine it could be related to their heart. After all, we've been told for years that hair changes are just part of aging. And while that's true in many cases, sometimes the story is deeper. What's important to remember is that your hair can act like a barometer for your overall circulation. When your heart struggles, less oxygen and fewer nutrients make it to your hair follicles. Sometimes the change is gradual, and sometimes it comes on quickly, leaving you confused or frustrated. You might run your fingers through your hair and feel it come out in clumps, or notice it's gone from soft and manageable to brittle and lifeless almost overnight. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Maybe you've switched shampoos or tried every remedy the TV commercials have to offer, hoping to reverse the process. Maybe you've quietly mourned the change in the mirror, feeling a pang of loss for the hair you once had. It's natural to want to fix it or to find someone to blame: stress, diet, even the weather. But sometimes the answer is inside, not outside. Sometimes your hair is trying to tell you something urgent about your heart. So what should you do? The first step is to pay close attention. Run your fingers through your hair right now. Is it coming out more easily than before? Does it feel different, dry, rough, or brittle, even after you've washed and conditioned it? Have you noticed a sudden increase in hair loss or a patchy pattern that wasn't there last year? Take a photo, if you can, to track changes over time. These details might seem small, but they're important clues for your doctor. The next step is to speak up. Mention these changes to your healthcare provider. Don't be embarrassed or think it's too trivial to bring up. Tell them about the timing, the texture, and the pattern. Ask if it could be related to circulation or heart health. The earlier you discuss these signs, the better your chances are for getting ahead of a potential problem. The good news is that hair changes connected to heart health are often reversible, or at least manageable, once the underlying issue is treated. Lawrence started medication to strengthen his heart, and within a few months, he noticed less hair in his comb, and even a little softness returning. More importantly, he had the energy to enjoy walks with Gloria again and felt hope for the future. Your body speaks to you in many ways, sometimes in whispers, sometimes in shouts. Don't ignore what your hair is trying to say. Sometimes, something as simple as running a hand through your hair can remind you that you are still alive, still growing, and still capable of taking action. Your health is worth that second look, that conversation, that moment of gentle self-care. After all, you've earned the right to feel good about yourself, inside and out. And sometimes, noticing the little things, like unexplained changes in your hair, can be the key to protecting your heart and your future for years to come. 3. Swelling in specific facial areas. How often do we notice our faces, beyond a glance in the bathroom mirror each morning? For most of us, our faces are familiar territory. Soft lines deepening with age, a few extra wrinkles marking years of laughter and tears, eyes growing a little more thoughtful. But sometimes, the most important changes are the ones that creep in quietly, so subtle you hardly notice them, until one day, you look up and see someone different looking back at you. That's exactly how it was for Harriet. At 69, she prided herself on her independence and never missed her morning walk through her Wisconsin neighborhood. She'd always enjoyed her small routines, chatting with neighbors at the mailbox, baking oatmeal cookies for her grandchildren, sipping her coffee by the kitchen window as the sun rose. It was the simple pleasures that filled her days and made her feel connected to the world around her. But as winter melted into spring, Harriet noticed something unusual in her morning reflection. At first, it was just a hint of puffiness beneath her eyes, a little swelling that she attributed to a salty dinner or maybe a restless night. But the puffiness persisted, and over the next few weeks, it seemed to spread, filling her cheeks and softening the familiar lines of her jaw. Sometimes her face would look fuller in the morning, only to fade as the day wore on. Harriet didn't want to worry. She tried switching to a new pillow, reduced her salt intake, and even splurged on a fancy face cream that promised miraculous depuffing. But nothing seemed to make a difference. When her daughter brought up the changes at a family brunch, Harriet shrugged it off, embarrassed by the attention. "Just part of getting older," she said, forcing a smile. Still, deep down, she wondered. The swelling wasn't painful, but it was unsettling. Some mornings, she barely recognized herself in the mirror. She found herself hiding from family photos, not wanting to see how her appearance had changed. The turning point came at her daughter's wedding. Surrounded by relatives and old friends, Harriet felt the familiar twinge of self-consciousness as cameras clicked. Later, when she saw the photographs, the fullness of her cheeks and the swelling around her eyes were impossible to ignore. A cousin, who hadn't seen her in years, commented gently, "Are you feeling all right, Harriet? You look a little puffy, like maybe you're holding on to water." That night, Harriet lay awake, unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong. The next morning, she made an appointment with her doctor. When she arrived, Dr. Jessup listened carefully, examining her face and gently pressing the skin around her eyes and jawline. "It's good that you came in," Dr. Jessup said, her voice kind but serious. Swelling in the face, especially first thing in the morning, can be a sign that your heart isn't pumping as well as it should. Fluid can build up when the heart struggles, and gravity often causes it to collect in your face while you're sleeping. Harriet was stunned. She'd always associated heart problems with chest pain or breathlessness, never with her reflection in the mirror. She thought of all the mornings she'd dismissed the swelling as just age or too much salt, not realizing her body was quietly asking for help. Tests soon revealed that Harriet's heart was indeed under strain. She was diagnosed with moderate heart failure, caught early, thanks to her attention to that subtle, persistent facial swelling. With medication and some lifestyle changes, she soon began to feel more like herself. The swelling faded, and with it, the heaviness in her spirit. Harriet's experience isn't rare. Across the country, countless older adults notice swelling in their faces, especially around the eyes, cheeks, and jaw, but dismiss it as an inevitable part of getting older. Yet this morning puffiness, particularly if it lessens during the day, is a classic, often overlooked warning sign that the heart may not be working efficiently. When the heart struggles to pump, fluid backs up in the body. While lying down at night, that fluid is drawn to the lowest points, often the face, revealing itself as swelling that's most noticeable when you first wake up. The medical term for this is edema, and while it can be caused by many things, heart-related edema deserves special attention. Some people may also notice swelling in their ankles or hands, but for others, the first visible clue is right there in the mirror each morning. If you or someone you love has started to notice unexplained puffiness, especially if it comes on gradually and seems worse in the morning, it's time to listen closely. Don't dismiss these changes as vanity, or convince yourself it's just salt. Our bodies are wise. Sometimes, a little swelling is the first way your heart says, "I need some help." So, what should you do? First, take a careful look at your face tomorrow morning, before you've been upright for long. Pay attention to the area around your eyes, your cheeks, and your jawline. Does it seem fuller or puffier than it used to? Is the swelling less noticeable as the day goes on? If so, take a photo for comparison. Better yet, show it to someone who hasn't seen you in a while. They may notice subtle changes that you've missed. Most importantly, bring these observations to your doctor's attention. Be specific about what you've noticed and when it appears. Mention any other symptoms you might have: fatigue, shortness of breath, swelling in your legs or ankles, even if they seem minor. Your doctor can run simple tests to determine if your heart is behind these changes. Harriet often tells her friends, "The best thing I did was to listen to what my face was trying to tell me. I was lucky, and you can be too." There's no shame in looking after yourself, or in asking your doctor about something that seems unusual. It's one of the bravest and wisest things you can do. In the end, our faces are more than just a record of our years. They're mirrors for what's happening deep inside. So, the next time you glance at your reflection, pause for a moment. Pay attention to what you see. A little swelling might seem small, but for someone like Harriet, it was the beginning of a second chance at health, confidence, and many more sunrises by the kitchen window. Take care of yourself. Notice the quiet changes. And remember, sometimes, your face is telling you everything you need to know, if you're willing to look and to listen. 4. Visible skin color changes. Sometimes, the most important warnings are the ones the whole world can see. Yet we miss them because we're not used to looking at ourselves with a detective's eye. Skin, after all, is something we tend to take for granted. It weathers every season with us, darkens in the sun, blushes when we're shy, and wrinkles gently with the passing years. But what if your skin was quietly sending out a distress signal? A color change that your loved ones might spot before you even notice. This is exactly what happened to Bradley, a 75-year-old retired construction worker from Arizona. Bradley was never much for vanity. His hands were rough from decades of honest labor, and he wore his sun-darkened skin with the quiet pride of someone who'd spent his life working outdoors. For years, he'd gotten his hair cut at the same local barber shop, where he'd chat about sports, grandkids, and old friends. Life, in its simple routines, felt solid and predictable. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. But over a few months, Bradley's barber noticed something that Bradley himself didn't see. His skin tone seemed to be changing. "You're looking a little gray lately," the barber mentioned one day, clipping carefully around Bradley's ears. "And your lips look a bit bluish. Are you feeling all right?" Bradley brushed it off, thinking the lighting was odd or maybe he was just tired from yard work. Still, his barber insisted he should get checked out, just to be safe. That evening, Bradley's wife took a closer look at him in the natural afternoon light. She, too, noticed a faint grayish cast to his complexion and a bluish tinge at the edges of his lips. It wasn't the healthy pink she was used to seeing. There was even a strange pallor in his fingertips and nail beds, almost as if his blood wasn't circulating quite right. "Let's not ignore this," she said gently. "Promise me you'll call your doctor tomorrow." Reluctantly, Bradley agreed. At his appointment, his doctor's face grew serious as soon as she saw him. She checked his lips and his earlobes, and pressed lightly on the skin above his collarbone. "These color changes aren't just cosmetic, Bradley," she explained. "They tell me your heart may not be pumping oxygen-rich blood the way it should." A few tests later, the results were clear. Bradley was suffering from congestive heart failure. The color changes in his skin, subtle but visible to others, were among the first outward signs. It was a sobering moment, but also a blessing in disguise. Because his family and barber paid attention, he was able to start treatment before his condition became much worse. Bradley's story is far more common than most people realize. Many older adults, especially those over 65, experience visible changes in their skin color that go unnoticed or are dismissed as just part of getting older. Maybe you've looked in the mirror and noticed your lips look a little more purple than pink, or that your skin seems dull, almost gray, no matter how much sleep you get. Perhaps the whites of your eyes have taken on a yellowish tinge, or your gums are paler than you remember. We often chalk these changes up to age, lighting, or fatigue, but sometimes our bodies are waving a flag that shouldn't be ignored. Doctors have a saying, "The skin is a window to your circulation." When your heart isn't pumping efficiently, blood doesn't deliver enough oxygen to all the parts of your body. That lack of oxygen can cause your skin to change color in noticeable ways, especially in areas where blood vessels are close to the surface, like your lips, fingertips, nail beds, and even the inside of your eyelids. A bluish or purplish hue means oxygen isn't reaching those tissues the way it should. A grayish cast can signal poor circulation. A yellowing of the eyes or skin may point to underlying organ strain from heart failure. It's easy to overlook these subtle shifts. We get used to our faces. Sometimes it takes a loved one, or even a stranger, to point out the change. And while it can be uncomfortable to have someone notice something so personal, it might just save your life. Let's talk about what you should do if you spot these changes. Start by looking at your skin in natural daylight. Pay special attention to your lips. Are they their usual pink, or do they look blue or purple? Check your fingertips, nail beds, and the inside of your lower eyelids. Do your gums seem pale? Has your complexion taken on a dull, grayish tone? If you wear makeup, try going without it for a day or two to really see what's going on beneath the surface. If you notice these changes, don't shrug them off. Take a clear photo in good lighting. Sometimes, Comparing photos taken weeks or months apart helps you see a difference you might not notice day to day. Share these photos with your doctor and be specific about what you've observed. Don't be afraid to ask, "Could this be related to my heart?" Sometimes, the signs will be subtle at first. They might come and go. But the earlier you pay attention, the more options you have for protecting your heart health. Early heart failure can often be managed with medications, gentle lifestyle changes, and close monitoring. Far better than waiting until a crisis arrives. There's one more reason this matters so much. Your appearance isn't just about vanity, and noticing changes isn't about being self-absorbed. It's about self-care. You have every right to want to look and feel your best for as many years as possible. But even more than that, you have the right to catch warning signs early, to give yourself the gift of time, choices, and better health. Bradley's life changed that day in the barber's chair, not just because he started new medications, but because he realized how important it is to listen to the people who see us most often. His grandchildren still tease him for turning gray, but now they do it with hugs and a promise to keep an eye on Grandpa's color, because everyone in the family knows what's at stake. So take a look, a real look, at yourself today. Let your loved ones know what to watch for, too. It might feel a bit vulnerable, but the payoff is enormous. After all, your skin has been with you every step of the way. Now it's time to let it speak up for your heart. You deserve to live boldly, comfortably, and with peace of mind. Sometimes, the difference between worry and hope is just a shift in color, and a willingness to see what's right in front of you. 5. Changes in ear appearance, frank sign. It's funny how something as small and overlooked as an earlobe crease can carry such a heavy message about your heart. For most of us, ears are simple. They're to listen, to hold our glasses, or to display a favorite earring or two. We rarely stop to think about them as clues to our health. But for doctors who know what to look for, the shape and lines on your ears can be as telling as any blood test or scan. Take the story of Gregory, a 72-year-old retired teacher from Pennsylvania. Gregory was the kind of man who cherished his morning coffee routine and enjoyed quiet afternoons reading in his favorite armchair. He had no major complaints, felt pretty good for his age, and never imagined his ears might hold secrets about his heart. One routine doctor's visit, as Gregory sat patiently, his physician's eyes wandered to his earlobes. She noticed a diagonal crease running across both of them, a subtle but distinct line that many people would miss. The doctor's expression changed from casual to concerned. "Gregory," she said gently, "this crease is called Frank's sign. It's been shown in many studies to be linked to coronary artery disease and heart failure. We should take a closer look to be sure everything is okay." Gregory was surprised. He had felt completely fine, no chest pain, no breathlessness, nothing that suggested his heart might be in trouble. But his doctor explained that Frank's sign often appears long before symptoms, a silent warning etched in the skin. She ordered a series of tests. The results were sobering. Gregory had significant blockages in 3 major coronary arteries, a condition known as triple vessel disease. It was a ticking time bomb that, if left unchecked, could lead to a heart attack or heart failure. What amazed Gregory most was how this small crease, a simple fold in his earlobes, had given his doctor a crucial early clue. It was a stark reminder that sometimes, the body speaks in whispers rather than shouts. This sign, named after Dr. Sanders T. Frank, who first described it decades ago, is more common than many realize. Frank's sign refers to a diagonal crease running from the tragus, that little flap just in front of your ear canal, across the earlobe to the edge. It's usually on one or both ears, and it's not just a wrinkle from sleeping on your side. Research has repeatedly shown that it correlates strongly with heart disease, especially coronary artery disease, which can lead to heart failure. The exact reason why this crease form isn't fully understood, but scientists believe it relates to changes in the tiny blood vessels and connective tissues in the earlobe, similar changes that happen in the arteries of the heart. So, in a way, the earlobes become a window into the health of your heart's blood vessels. For many older adults, seeing this crease doesn't mean immediate panic. But it does mean that paying attention and getting a thorough checkup is wise. If you notice this crease or any unusual thickening or changes in the shape of your earlobes, it's worth mentioning to your doctor. What should you do right now? Find a well-lit mirror and take a careful look at your earlobes. Do you see a diagonal line running across either one or both? Is there unusual thickening or changes in texture? It may help to take a close-up photo so you can show your healthcare provider exactly what you're seeing. Don't wait to bring it up. Even if you feel perfectly well, discussing this sign with your doctor can lead to early testing that may uncover hidden risks before any symptoms appear. Early diagnosis means more treatment options, from lifestyle changes and medications to procedures that can prevent heart attacks. Gregory's experience taught him that health isn't just about the big symptoms or the emergency room visits. It's about listening to all the little signs your body gives you. That tiny crease in his earlobes was a silent messenger, urging him to take action before it was too late. I've heard from many seniors who felt perfectly healthy until a doctor spotted something unexpected during a routine exam, whether it was a change in nails, hair, face, or even ears. These discoveries aren't meant to scare you but to empower you. Your body wants you to know when something's off, even if it's hiding in the smallest details. So as you look in the mirror today, take a moment to examine your ears. It may feel strange at first, but remember, this simple self-check could be one of the most important things you do for your heart health. And if you notice Frank's sign or any unusual changes, don't hesitate. Make that appointment. Your heart deserves your attention, even in the quietest ways. After all, your ears listen to the world around you. Now it's time to listen to what your ears might be telling you. You deserve to live with confidence, knowing you've done everything you can to care for your heart, right down to the smallest crease. 6. Unexpected dental and oral changes. Our mouths are gateways, places where we taste, speak, smile, and connect with the world. Yet, they can also be secret reporters of our inner health, quietly reflecting what's going on beneath the surface. For many, changes in the mouth might seem like just part of aging or the result of diet, dental care habits, or medications. But sometimes, these unexpected dental and oral changes are early signals that your heart is struggling. Take Vincent's story. Vincent is 70, a retired postal worker from Florida, known for his cheerful disposition and unwavering commitment to his daily routine. Every morning, he brushed and flossed diligently, visited his dentist regularly, and prided himself on keeping his smile bright. But over the past year, Vincent noticed troubling changes. His gums began bleeding more easily, even with gentle brushing. His breath carried a persistent odor that seemed impossible to shake, no matter how much he cleaned. His teeth, once steady, felt a little looser, and there was an unusual sensitivity that hadn't been there before. At first, Vincent thought these were simply part of getting older, or maybe a side effect of new medications. He told himself it was nothing serious, something his dentist could handle at the next cleaning. But at his routine dental checkup, the dentist looked concerned. She noticed his gums were a darker purplish shade rather than the healthy pink she'd always seen. The looseness of his teeth, combined with the bad breath and gum changes, prompted her to suggest Vincent see his physician for a full evaluation. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. When Vincent finally spoke with his doctor, the pieces started to come together. His heart wasn't pumping efficiently, which meant less oxygen-rich blood was reaching his gums and oral tissues. This reduced blood flow was causing inflammation, tissue damage, and the troubling symptoms Vincent had been experiencing. Tests revealed early-stage heart failure, a condition that, if caught later, could lead to serious complications. Vincent was surprised. He hadn't experienced chest pain or severe breathlessness yet, but his mouth had been giving him subtle clues all along. His cardiologist explained, "Your mouth is like an early warning system. Changes in gum color, tooth stability, and persistent bad breath that doesn't improve with good hygiene can all be linked to poor circulation caused by heart issues. Vincent's story is not unique. Many seniors notice oral changes and brush them off as mere inconvenience or normal aging. Yet dental researchers have long known there's a strong connection between oral health and cardiovascular disease. The mouth's tissues are rich with blood vessels, and when heart function declines, these delicate areas can show signs before other symptoms become obvious. So, what exactly should you watch for? Start by carefully examining your mouth. Are your gums receding or pulling away from your teeth more than before? Do they look purplish, swollen, or inflamed? Is your breath persistently bad despite diligent brushing and flossing? Are your teeth becoming loose or sensitive without clear cause? Have you noticed changes in your tongue's texture or coating, such as a white film or unusual bumps? If you recognize any of these signs, don't wait. Make appointments with both your dentist and your doctor. Tell them specifically what you've observed. These changes could help your healthcare providers detect heart problems early, sometimes even before more obvious symptoms like fatigue or swelling appear. Caring for your oral health is a vital part of caring for your whole body. Good dental hygiene, regular checkups, and honest conversations with your healthcare team can make a big difference. Vincent began treatment for his heart failure soon after diagnosis, and with ongoing care, many of his symptoms improved. More importantly, he gained peace of mind knowing he had acted in time. Our mouths hold stories of our lives: laughter, meals shared, words spoken to loved ones. They also tell stories about our health, sometimes in ways we might never expect. Paying attention to these oral changes is a powerful way to listen to your body's whispers before they become louder alarms. So today, when you brush your teeth or look in the mirror, take a moment to truly observe your gums, teeth, and tongue. You might be surprised by what you discover, and by how that discovery could help protect your heart. You deserve to smile freely and live fully, with the confidence that comes from knowing you're watching out for yourself in every way. Sometimes, the smallest changes in the mouth can make the biggest difference for your heart and for your life. As we've walked through these 6 surprising signs together, it's clear how our bodies quietly send messages when something isn't right. Messages that too often go unnoticed until it's almost too late. From the subtle changes in our nails and hair to the swelling in our face, shifts in skin color, the lines on our earlobes, and even the health of our mouths, each detail holds a clue about what's happening inside our hearts. It's easy to overlook these signs, especially when they don't hurt or disrupt our daily lives. But remember, these small changes are your body's way of asking for attention and care. Listening to these whispers can be the difference between catching heart failure early and facing a much harder battle down the road. If you've noticed any of these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't hesitate. Reach out to your doctor. Share what you've seen and how it's made you feel. Taking that first step can open the door to treatment that protects your heart and helps you live a fuller, healthier life. You deserve to feel strong and vibrant, to enjoy the moments that matter with your family and friends. The power to safeguard your heart lies within your hands. Sometimes literally, in the details you might have missed before. Thank you for taking the time to learn and care for yourself. If this video has helped you, please leave a comment sharing which sign surprised you most. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so more people can benefit from this important information. Together, we can listen to our bodies, act early, and live well.